So you probably guessed by the title of this video that I went off and I saw Yellow Submarine in a theater tonight since it's a one-night only event. It's nationwide. They're showing it at select theaters. You can tell I got a little teeny bit sunburned. I wasn't even outside that long, but that is how fast my skin burns, even with sunscreen. Anyway, so it is a good freaking thing that I trusted my gut instinct and we left earlier than I thought was necessary, since my sister thought we would be able to take Bart out there and go with one that would get us there like 10 minutes before showtime, and I was like, that's cutting it way too close for comfort, and I wanted the one that would be like 35 minutes before. Guess who was right? Guess who really didn't have any time to just like sit there and wait either? Just saying, I'd never actually been to this theater before, and neither had she. It's in Berkeley. It's the Landmark California Theater. So it's kind of like a small little indie theater, which are kind of nice. Truth be told, I've seen Yellow Submarine in a theater one other time. That was about 9 years ago, I want to say. And that was at the Castro Theater. And it was a slightly different experience than the one I had tonight. I think I had a better experience with it tonight, actually, even though this was a smaller theater. But it was better, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why when I get that far. But we had an adventure trying to find the dang place because of, okay, looking at the map of where the BART station is in proximity to this particular theater, looked like it should be a straight freaking shot down the street, 2 blocks, you're there. And I figured it'd be really easy because here's BART, here's Target store, here's the theater. Oh, if only it had been that simple. When I got out of the BART station and I saw that Target, I somehow got discombobulated and went that way and followed it a couple of blocks and was like, well, there is a theater here, but it's not the right one. Kim, get your phone out. I think we need to figure out where the hell we are and how far off we are. She's looking it up like, yeah, I don't think this is it. So we backtrack and we go down that way, which, had we followed that instinct, would have actually been correct, but the first theater we saw also wasn't it, because apparently there's like a butt ton of theaters all clumped together in that little space, which is really strange to me. I wasn't anticipating that, didn't see those on the map, so we turn back around, and we go back our original route a second time, because the buildings are magically gonna change. I don't know. But she's following her phone. She thinks she's gonna follow the map. And she's like, it's so weird because it shows it should be like 1 street over from here. And I was like, well, there's no street in the middle to connect them, so apparently we're gonna have to go back out and back down that way. And we do, and we figure out there was a side street that we didn't know about. We eventually figured it out, but oh my god, I was so embarrassed. So freaking embarrassed. But we get there, I go looking up at the marquee, and I'm thinking, well, it's the right theater, but I don't see it on the marquee. But I did find the poster outside, so I took a picture of that. Ended up being the only picture I took, which I kind of regret now, but oh well. We go in, and the dude checking tickets has a freaking captain hat on. I was like, nice touch. Nice touch. I noticed on his little whiteboard next to him, he has a little doodle of Yellow Submarine John on it. I was like, ah, my heart. I feel like I may have been one of the only people who noticed it, because it was pretty small, and it was in the corner of this thing, but little Miss Eagle Eyes here. So we go in, we get snacks. That was actually probably the lengthiest part of this whole process, was getting snacks, just because the line was crazy. I go in, we go to the theater, well, I mean, we were at the theater, we go into the correct room, we're looking around for seats, this place is packed. I'm like, wow, that they just about sold out, go them. And we walk down near the front, and first spot where I could see open seats, I walk in, I sit down, I go, don't mind me, just sitting here. No sooner had I sat down, this girl, the next seat over, turns, looks at me, are you Jen? I was like, yes! And I'm like, holy crap, this is only the second time ever I have been recognized out in public. And I wasn't sure if it was because of my YouTube or because of my Twitter. And she tells me her name, and I was like, I know who you are! Which is funny because she and I had wanted to try to arrange a meetup at this, but communications got crossed and I had to leave before I could figure out what all was going on, so I figured, well, maybe I'll see her, maybe I won't. But I got to, at least at the theater. Didn't get to talk to her a whole heck of a lot, but technically I got to meet her, which is really cool because it's another Beatle fan that actually is from the same town as me. We had never gotten to meet up before, so maybe we'll get to again in the future now, but I was just like, ah! And flailing over that. I was like, what are the freaking odds out of that whole theater? Just arbitrarily sitting down the first spot I happened to see, open seats, just happened to be right next to she and her mom. Thank you, universe. And I was sitting here so worried that I was gonna have a bad omen because of what was on the back of my BART card. I turned it over. I would show it to you guys, except for the fact that since I had the exact fare on it, I didn't get to keep the card. I should have, like, kept an extra 5 cents on it so I could show you guys this. But, on the back of it, had an A's baseball player. I was thinking, okay, maybe my mom will want it. And then I noticed the name on the back. And of all the players, I'm not going to tell you why the name is significant, but I'm just gonna say that the player's last name is Chapman. That's all I'm saying, and I'm not talking because of John Lennon's killer. There's another person in my life that makes that name significant. And I was like, oh, fuck, is this gonna be a train wreck of an evening? Oh my god. I mean, basically, could have gone either way. Could have been a good omen, could have been a bad omen. Wasn't really sure, but I was just like, ah, fuck, when I saw that. Well, bring it, basically, I guess. But thankfully, everything went smoothly other than just not being able to find the theater at first, so I guess maybe it was a good omen, I don't know. But anyway, so, in the theater, and sure enough, just like I tried to tell my sister, there was no ads before, because being a special event, usually they don't do ads. And the dude with the cap came out and did his intro. It was corny, but it was lovable. I appreciate that they put in the extra effort to make it more thematically appropriate. Apparently next week, at the same time, they're doing another Beatles movie. It's a documentary this time that I actually haven't seen for once, so depending on the financial situation, and depending on the transportation situation, maybe I'll head out again to that, maybe not. It was just sheer luck that my sister had nothing to do at the time to go to the show this week, so I was able to do that. Otherwise, I probably still would have gone, I just would have gone alone. But, it would have been a matter of finding transportation to and from BART, and that is the hard part, so I don't drive. But that is neither here nor there. So, the movie starts, everybody's applauding, and immediately I notice 2 things. One, the audio isn't up as just ear-deafeningly loud as it was at the Castro Theater, like, 9 years ago, which, I mean, in certain parts, because I had had that experience, I almost kind of missed it. But in other parts, I was so freaking thankful that it wasn't as loud, because it didn't kill your eardrums. It was loud enough. Don't get me wrong, it's not like they had it quiet. It was still like movie theater level, but the other theater had it so loud that every time that the evil flying glove would laugh, it literally shook the damn seat, so the first time it did that time, I about crapped my pants because I was like, what the fuck? But, yeah, that, and the other downside of it being that loud at the other theater was every time the blue meanie laughed, it was just so shrill. It was like, ow, ow, could you not, ow, stop. Just like, and that freaking screaming clown thing just, oh, I had to plug my ears a couple of times at that other theater. Didn't have to once at this one. It was like the most ideal level possible. But, still, the other thing that I noticed right off the bat was they have cleaned up the colors, and most of it visually. There was one very brief little segment, um, in the hallway in their house towards the beginning of the movie that still was blurry, and it was only for a few frames, and then it went back to being very clear and very cleaned up. I was like, nobody caught this in editing? No one? No one on the restoration team caught that. Okay, I know I'm just being nitpicky, but it otherwise visually looked amazing, and I'm so glad that they fixed the color situation, because in the 2009 theatrical run, the colors were very muddied and just dull. I mean, it wasn't quite as bad as the home releases post 99, because those just. Mm, yeah, that. I mean, the 99 release was the best one color-wise, but since then, it's like gone downhill every time they've re-released it. And the other theatrical release did the same, and worse. In this one, almost all of it was brightened up back to like its original form. They restored it to like its original form or glory. The one scene that I noticed was still dull and muddy was during All Together Now, when they're in the ocean and they're just swooping through the waters, when they have all those little like psychedelic reefs in there, the like stripy ones, you know, like the one that I tried to draw on the inside of my sketchbook cover, all psychedelically, with the octopuses, or I should say octopi on them. Those were still fairly muddied up and dull. I know darn well at one point they got restored, and now it's like they undid it and went back to how it looked before. So I know, total nitpickiness on my part, but I did notice it, and I feel like the only reason I even noticed it, probably no one else did, only reason I noticed it is because I spent an entire day drawing that damn scene on the inside cover of my sketchbook earlier this year, and painstakingly paying attention to the color of every single stripe placement. Oh no, when I drew it, it was not arbitrary placement of the colors. I sat there and I copied one by freaking one to make sure they were identical. Thank you very much. But yeah, that I did notice that a mile away, that for as much as they'd improved the color situation and the clarity in most of the film, it was still a little lacking in that part, but for how much good they did overall, I feel like it's negligible, it's forgivable. I mean, should there be another re-release, I'd like to see them fix that back up too. But, I mean, again, bigger fish to fry. What I noticed more, though, especially as I watched the whole thing, not just judging off of the, like, first few minutes or anything, was in the way they handled the sound situation. Now, I'm gonna compare again to the 2009 theatrical release, because they did some really weird stuff with that one. The 2009 theatrical run, like, the sound effects of the glove were changed. When he flew around, it was no longer the sort of. I can't do a good impersonation of it, but if you've ever seen the film, you know the sound I'm talking about. Well, in 2009, they just changed it to an arbitrary little motor noise. It was very lackluster, it didn't fit, I cannot have been the only one who noticed it, and for as many times as I have watched that movie, I know it like the back of my hand. I noticed the second a thing has been changed with it. I do with all the Beatle films, but especially Yellow Submarine. Changing the sound effect of the glove is practically sacrilege. I was like, what did you do? But in today's version, they put it back, and I am so freaking grateful that they did, because it was not the same the other way. It lost something. I swear, it lost something in translation just by changing that stupid sound effect. And there was a few other spots with the sound where, in some of the instances, I felt like it might be chalked up to the fact that it's surround sound and different tones are being bounced around in different areas in here, but some of it, I feel like, did indeed get shifted a bit. I'm trying to think of specific examples here. I know one in particular that stood out like a sore thumb was during I can talk Only a Northern Song. The horns in it, they were very, very slid down on the mixing board. You could barely hear them at all most of the points where you would normally hear them quite loud and quite shrill. Ow, I have shorts on, but most of the points where it would fit like that, they were turned down so far you could either barely hear them or you couldn't hear them. Because especially in the latter part of the song, it was like they'd turn them down even further still to where they kind of blended into the background and was like just gone. I was like, why did you really? In another spot they did that. I figured this one was more because of the social commentary angle, and they probably want to minimize the damage of, even though this movie is from another time, when such things nobody batted an eyelash at, but in the Sea of Monsters, after Ringo hits the eject button, and there's all the Indians that are, swarming around him, ready to attack, and there's the from the Indians. The sound effect that used to be quite prominent there, the first half of it was mysteriously missing, and the second half it was like they turned the audio way down on it. So I was like, I'm not sure if somebody had a fuck up there, or more likely, they're just trying to minimize how obvious it is that they went there. So, I mean, that was changed. I feel like pointing it out just because I noticed it a mile away. There was a lot more very, very subtle ones that aren't even worth mentioning, but those were big enough to where I feel like I can't have been the only one who noticed them, therefore probably big enough to talk about. I'm trying to think. The aspect ratio that they showed the film in was off a little. It didn't look bad. It wasn't stretched or squashed or anything, that's not what I'm saying. But I feel like they cut it top and bottom ways. Because there are certain parts of the frame. I realize this is a whole argument with a lot of people, especially with this film, that there's never been a true release of it that shows all edges of the frames. But, I especially noticed it in All You Need Is Love, when it would have the words of the title on the screen above John. At the bottom of the screen, you should be able to see John clearly. At the top of the screen should have the top of that row of words, and the way they had it on the screen, you lost, like, that top row of words. I was like, okay, we kept the bottom, but we just chopped off the top, like, altogether. I'm like, I didn't notice it with every frame of the film, I just noticed it there, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if that was part of the restoration team, I don't know if this was the theater, I don't know. But that I did notice. There was a couple other spots where I noticed it too, that the top and bottom edges, mostly the top edge, but occasionally top and bottom edges, were curiously missing. Just saying, or if they weren't missing, they were greatly minimized and they were like half missing. So that was a thing. But overall, I'm very pleased with this particular theatrical run. It was very, very good, especially the music in it. They remastered and it sounds amazing. Visually, it looks amazing. I have no real complaints. If they did another DVD release off of this version here, I would buy it. Same with Blu-ray. It'd be nice if they could do something about giving us as much of the screen as possible, but I guess that's too much to ask. But yeah, I just wanted to share it with you guys because there were some interesting things of note that I felt were noteworthy enough to where I should share these with you guys, since I'm not sure if I'm the only one who knows them because I'm a freaking nerd. Quite possibly, yeah. I just want to share them with you guys and see if anyone else noticed these things as well. So, anyways, if I think of more to talk about on this topic, I will. It's late. I'm tired. I need to sleep. So I'm gonna wrap this up, especially since I've been babbling for like 20 minutes. Um, you guys know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Did you go see Yellow Submarine in your local theater that was participating in this event? Let me know down below if you did or not. And if you did you notice any of the things that I made observations on? Did you notice any different ones that I didn't point out? Let me know, because I'd be curious to see if there are things that I noticed that I didn't mention, or if they are ones that just flew over my head. I'd love to know. As well as anything else you feel like leaving me, make sure you leave your comments down below, or just said that, I swear. It's past bedtime. Make sure you're following my social media accounts. They're all listed down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. So anyway, guys, while this uploads, I need to sleep. So, see ya.